Contemporary Practice Exercise 4.4, Creating a Techniques file. Now for phase 3 of the techniques file, I wanted to now bring together the ideas of my work and techniques and kind of embrace and allow the technique file to kind of have some form of a theme. This file is a little bit rawer. So what I've just really done is I've just made an extension of a sketchbook, and so this is why it is the way that it is presented, because I quite liked the fact of using fragments, which is going to be part of my process as an idea. So I just went ahead. I love working on brown paper. It just has something about it with the texture and so forth. And I have been working with it as a material up to this point. So there we have the front cover. And one of the first pages is an embroidery technique. Now, these samples have come from Vocabulary Textiles. I considered that it was important to make a translation into drawing, and also as well to bullet point the ideas behind the technique of embroidery. Obviously with backing up the information, starting to use some printed and written information. Again, more samples with embroidery and stitch work, translating into drawings and making an accumulative process of ideas and words to stimulate these techniques. Also as well, there's been some interesting outcomes with the reverse, because I've been using ink. So that's also added to the creating a technique file. I've also found, you know, this was useful. This was a useful piece of work from school, translating it into drawing. Drawing is becoming obviously part of our drawing techniques, which is important. And again, through the back, accumulating more information on particular embroidery techniques. And page 2, there's an expansion of bleaching paper with embroidery. Moving on, through here we've now started to look at dyeing fabric. This particular piece is just what I've been working on as a little sideline with the current project. That's why it's in here. Dyeing with coffee and tea being inventing, but still using the same form of crafted processes of dyeing fabrics and so forth. And again, we can see information and also some results through the black Indian ink where that has stained the papers. Heat fusing plastic was what I've been also working with at the moment, and I've worked with in contemporary context. Absolutely loved this as a piece. These ideas have really been brought back from contemporary context. Sue Hotchkiss, she uses a lot of texture, and when I did my textiles research, this sort of texture, this heated fabric, is now giving me the technique to prepare my own fabrics ready for, you know, another technique of overstitching here as well. The idea came from brass rubbings, where you can actually start to consider rubbing the surfaces of your materials as another technique. Looking again at abstract shapes, mark making with paper. This stemmed from textiles research in contemporary practice, looking at artists like Joshua Blakewell, big and bold, and using abstract forms with detailed texture. And here we've got techniques of brush marks, of inks and so forth, still accumulating the information and working through the ideas to build up and further investigate techniques. This is just a small example of digital technique that again was used or is used by Sue Hotchkiss. And then what I've done towards the end of the assignment is started to engage in some of the elements that I'd use for my samples with my contemporary textiles research. big bold shapes, cutting out the paper, mark making surfaces, so that we are using our drawing as a continuous technique throughout the whole of our assignment work to generate more ideas. And then towards the end of this file, I've now started to add in pieces that I've been working on as a mini project, just building up some simple pieces of work, which I'm going to include sources of a photograph inspired this piece of tissue paper, which I in actual fact blotted Indian ink and coffee, and then just adding more samples that are going to be useful for me and techniques that I am enjoying at the moment. I have pulled in some techniques that I've previously covered and mentioned in this assignment. Manipulation of material. This here is my expandable foam, which I might consider using, and I do actually like using acrylic paint on surfaces of fabric. And then these are just some further investigations that I've been working on with my artifact and archive. This is actually producing a beautiful colour palette, which has happened by accident. So I'm going to, through gut feeling, I'm going to continue with these possible ideas. So this completes my personal phase 3, creating a personal technique file.